Have you ever thought that just one small act of kindness can change the world? This is an inspirational story about Lila, a 14-year-old girl with a strong spirit overcoming a dangerous illness. Despite being hospitalized throughout the short years of her life, Lila chose not to be dominated by pain. Instead, she spreads kindness, solidarity, and hope to everyone around her. One day, she made a seemingly impossible wish to meet the president to send a message of kindness. How can a little girl shake the hearts of an entire nation? And what makes Lila's story an eternal legacy of kindness? Join us to explore this emotional action. Have you ever thought that just one small act of kindness can change the world? This is an inspirational story about Lila, a 14-year-old girl with a strong spirit overcoming a dangerous illness. Despite being hospitalized throughout the short years of her life, Lila chose not to be dominated by pain. Instead, she spreads kindness, solidarity, and hope to everyone around her. One day, she made a seemingly impossible wish to meet the president to send a message of kindness. How can a little girl shake the hearts of an entire nation? And what makes Lila's story an eternal legacy of kindness? Join us to explore this emotional action. Welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. In a small town hospital room, Lila lay surrounded by bright paper flowers and a soft stream of sunlight breaking through the window. Though her body was frail, her spirit was anything but. At 14, Lila had endured more hospital stays than most people do in a lifetime, fighting a rare aggressive illness. Yet, despite her condition, she carried a sense of peace that awed everyone who met her. Lila's mother, Grace, watched her daughter with an aching heart. Lila had grown up a fighter, a compassionate spirit, and lately she had become something of a quiet leader among the hospital's young patients. She was known for her endless optimism, the way she'd slip tiny paper cranes with messages of hope into the hands of other children after treatments, whispering, "Stay strong, you're braver than you know." Her gestures were so simple, yet they held a depth beyond her years. But Lila's health was slipping. She'd stopped walking weeks ago, her energy waning with each passing day, and though her condition worsened, she became even more determined. She spoke less about herself and more about others, surprising the nurses with heartfelt questions, stories of her dreams. Her mother noticed Lila was spending her evenings writing. Lila explained, "It's just a little something I want people to remember." One afternoon, after a particularly rough treatment, Lila surprised her mother by making an unusual request. "Mom, I want to meet the president," she said, her voice delicate but steady. Grace, who had grown used to Lila's courage and lofty dreams, found herself speechless. "Sweetheart, that's a big wish," Grace replied gently. "Why do you want to meet him?" Lila hesitated, her blue eyes sparkling with a flicker of determination. "I've been thinking a lot about how people treat each other. It's so easy to be angry, but it takes something special to be kind. I want to tell him that, to remind him and everyone else." Grace felt a pang of pride mixed with sorrow. Here was her child facing death, wanting to bring people together. That night, Grace crafted a heartfelt letter to the White House, explaining Lila's wish, and her powerful message of kindness seemed almost impossible, but Grace believed that if anyone could move mountains with just a word, it was her daughter. To everyone's astonishment, a reply came within days. Lila's story, combined with her hopeful request, had touched the hearts of those who read it. Arrangements were made quickly, and a date was set. The president would meet Lila in just over a week. The news spread through the hospital, lighting up the faces of doctors, nurses, and patients alike. Lila became a source of pride for everyone. She was their beacon of hope. In the days leading up to the visit, she could barely contain her excitement. She began drafting a letter, a single page with her thoughts, which she planned to hand the president during their meeting. It was simple, yet powerful, a message of unity and hope. As the day drew near, reporters began gathering outside the hospital. The media had picked up the story, and the country was waiting to hear the words of this courageous girl. Lila, however, remained focused on her message. Choosing to ignore the sudden attention, she didn't care about fame or recognition. Her only concern was that people would listen. The morning of the president's visit arrived with a quiet tension that filled Lila's hospital room. Nurses bustled in and out, setting up floral arrangements and clearing space to accommodate the presidential entourage. Lila, wearing a simple white dress and clutching her letter, looked calm, yet determined. The room's stillness was only broken by the rhythmic hum of her oxygen machine and the occasional whispers from the staff who peeked in with wide-eyed anticipation. Grace stood by Lila's side, gently brushing her daughter's hair back. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. Lila gave a small nod, her lips curving into a serene smile. Just before noon, the atmosphere shifted as the president's motorcade pulled up to the hospital. Security and staff had cleared a path, and as he entered the hallway, the president waved warmly to the crowd of nurses, patients, and staff who had gathered. His presence felt larger than life, yet he wore a gentle expression that put everyone at ease. When he reached Leila's room, he paused at the door, taking a deep breath before stepping inside. Grace held her breath as he entered, his gaze falling on Lila, who looked up at him with awe and gratitude. "Hello, Lila," he greeted her, his voice soft but filled with sincerity. "Thank you for letting me come visit you. I've heard so much about you." Lila's face lit up with a shy but genuine smile. "Thank you for coming, Mr. President. I've waited for this moment for a long time." He took a seat beside her bed, leaning in, as though to give her his undivided attention. "I understand you have a message you'd like to share." Lila took a deep breath, her frail hand gripping her letter tightly. "I do," she said, her voice quiet but unwavering. "I wanted to talk to you about kindness. It's something I think we forget sometimes. People get so angry, so divided over things that don't matter as much as caring for each other." The president nodded, his eyes softening as he listened. The room had fallen silent, and even the medical staff nearby had paused, entranced by Lila's words. "I know I don't have much time left," she continued, her gaze steady, "but I want my time to mean something. I've seen how people act when they're scared or hurting, and sometimes it's not good, but I think it could be different. I think people could be kinder if they tried, if they remembered that we're all in this together." The president looked deeply moved. "Lila," he began, his voice catching, "your words are powerful. Sometimes it takes someone as brave as you to remind us of what truly matters." Lila held out her letter. "I wrote this for you, but not just for you. It's for everyone. It's what I believe in. I hope you'll share it with others. I hope it reminds people that even when things feel hard, kindness can make a difference." He took the letter with a steady, reverent hand. The room felt charged, the weight of her words sinking into everyone present. As he opened the paper, his eyes scanning her carefully chosen words, a silence fell over the room. Lila's letter was simple but carried an undeniable force, one that left the president visibly moved. It read, "Dear everyone, I am Lila, and I want you to know that kindness is powerful, life is precious, and we don't always get a lot of time. If you're reading this, promise yourself that you'll choose kindness for your family, your friends, even people you don't know. We're stronger together, and every small act of kindness adds up to something bigger. Remember me, by spreading kindness, not anger. Let's make the world a better place, one small step at a time. Love, Lila." After reading it, the president looked at Lila, tears glistening in his eyes. "I promise, Lila, I'll share this with the country. You're right. This message needs to be heard." He gently reached out, wrapping his arms around her in a tender hug that conveyed more than words could say. President held her tightly as though he could somehow protect her from the fate awaiting her. And in that moment there was no politics, no titles, just a girl with a powerful message, and a leader who had promised to carry it forward. Outside the hospital, news crews and bystanders waited for the president's statement. When he emerged, he held Lila's letter in hand. "Today, I had the privilege of meeting a remarkable young woman," he began, his voice carrying an unusual gravity. "Lila reminded me, and should remind all of us, that kindness is something we can choose. She may have limited time, but her heart and message are boundless. In her honor, I ask each of you to choose kindness to make an impact, no matter how small." The crowd was silent, each person feeling the weight of Lila's words. As the president left, he was different, more somber, more reflective, and by the time he returned to Washington, Lila's letter had been published, shared online, and read by millions. Lila's letter spread like wildfire, social media platforms filled with posts from people all over the world sharing her simple yet profound message. Lila's message trended worldwide as people recounted stories of how her words had moved them to reconnect with loved ones, forgive past grievances, and extend compassion to strangers. The letter became a beacon of hope in a world often marked by division and discord. In hospitals, schools, and even bustling city streets, people began hanging copies of Lila's letter, her words serving as daily reminders to choose kindness. Families read it aloud at dinner tables, teachers used it as a lesson in classrooms, community leaders held events inspired by her call for unity. Her message had an undeniable ripple effect, touching lives far beyond her small town. Lila, however, was blissfully unaware of the vast impact she was creating. Her mother, Grace, shared bits and pieces with her, but Lila was too weak to grasp the full scale of what was happening. She had a quiet contentment in knowing she'd met the president and delivered her message, which for her had been enough. In the days following the president's visit, Lila's health took a rapid decline. The nurses and doctors who had cared for her throughout her journey were heartbroken but deeply moved by the legacy she was leaving behind. Her courage and kindness lingered in every corner of the hospital, a soft reminder to everyone of what truly mattered then. In the early hours of a peaceful morning, Lila slipped away. She left the world just as she had lived in it, gently with grace and without fear. Her mother held her hand. As she took her last breath, a tearful smile gracing her face, as she whispered, "You did it. Sweetheart, you changed the world." The hospital room was filled with an almost sacred stillness. For a few moments, time seemed to stand still. Nurses, doctors, and friends gathered outside her door, silently mourning the loss of a girl who had been so much more than a patient. She had been their inspiration, their reminder of kindness, and now she was gone. News of her passing spread quickly, and tributes poured in from around the globe. The president, visibly shaken, delivered a statement on national television. "Lila taught us all something extraordinary," he said, his voice catching as he spoke. "In her short time with us, she reminded the world that kindness is our most powerful tool. She may be gone, but her spirit and her message will live on today. I call on each and every one of you to honor Lila's memory by choosing kindness, unity, and compassion in all that you do. Let's carry her light forward." Lila's funeral was attended by hundreds from the community, but it was also live-streamed to thousands of viewers who had been touched by her story. Flowers, letters, and messages from strangers around the world adorned the grave, each one a tribute to the girl who had left such a profound impact. People sent letters recounting how her message had inspired them to reconcile. The members changed family members to volunteer in their communities or simply to show a little more patience and understanding to those around them. Her mother Grace received letters from people of all ages, children who had read Lila's story in school, elderly individuals who found hope in her words, and even inmates who claimed they had found a reason to change their lives. Lila had managed in her short life to unite people from all walks of life in a way that few ever could. Months passed, and the memory of Lila's message continued to live on. Monuments were erected in her honor and charities were founded to support causes she believed in. Schools across the country adopted Lila's pledge, a simple promise to choose kindness and compassion every day. Even years after her passing, people still remembered the little girl who had moved a nation with her message of hope. Grace often visited her daughter's gravesite, marveling at the letters and tributes that continued to appear, left by strangers who had come from near and far to pay their respects. The letters contained heartfelt words of thanks, stories of redemption, and reflections on how Lila's message had altered the course of their lives. To Grace, it was a bittersweet comfort to know that her daughter's life, though short, had left such a lasting legacy. And on what would have been Lila's 15th birthday, the president returned to the town, joining Grace and the community in unveiling a small monument in her honor. The monument, a simple stone engraved with her words, stood as a testament to the power of kindness. As they gathered around the president, read Lila's letter once more, his voice choked with emotion. "Lila taught us that we can be better, that we can make a choice each day to lift each other up, to find common ground, even when it seems impossible. Let this place and this message remind us of her legacy." People stood in silence, taking in the weight of those words, and in that quiet moment, Lila's spirit seemed to fill the air, a gentle reminder of a girl whose voice had been soft yet powerful enough to move a nation. Lila's story became part of the country's history, a legend of resilience, unity told from generation to generation. Her legacy lived on in the countless acts of kindness inspired by her letter, a message that transcended her short life and left an enduring mark on the world. Though she was gone, her light continued to shine, a beacon for all who chose to remember her message of unity, hope, and, above all, kindness. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for daily store. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them with us.